Hey, this is Math 7, Unit 5, Lesson 6, Subtracting Rational Numbers. Alright, this first one once again is part of your cool down here, and I want you to select all of the choices that are equal to -5 minus a -12. So look to see how you solve that there and see which ones of these are going to be equal to or equivalent to that expression right there. Alright, number 2. Do part of number 2 with you. It says a mountaineer is changing elevations. Write the expression that represents a difference between the final and the beginning elevation, and then determine the value of the change in elevation. Alright, so see the example here. We have the final minus the beginning. That's how we find the difference there. And then we solved it and saw the change between the two as being a positive 113. Okay, started off here and it increased, so it went up there. Here we can see 2387 to 50, we're having a decrease here. We're still going to find the difference though. So we do 50 minus 2387. Okay, so I could rewrite this as adding a negative, okay, like so. Now the signs are different. So I do 2387 and I subtract 50 and I end up with 2337. So we have a change of, in this case here, decreasing 2,337 feet. Okay, so that's what we have. There's a big drop in our elevation. Here we have 2387 and we end up at -175. So again, that's another major decrease there. Okay, we're going below. It's almost like you're up on a cliff. Okay, and here you are hanging out there, but the problem is the cliff is above sea level, and though you're going to go even below that there. So to find the difference, we're going to do -175 minus, in this case here we're subtracting still 2387. Okay, so this becomes add a negative. Now the signs are the same, so I find the sum, I'm going to add those together and keep the sign the same. So my change in elevation is going to be a decrease again. I'm going to add those up, and when I add those two together, I have 3,162. So my change is a decrease of 3,162 feet from where I started there. Okay, so that's really the idea. You're going to continue that down with the other ones here until you get to the very end. Okay, this last one though, let's look at this real quick. It's interesting. We do the difference between the final elevation, -175, minus the difference at the beginning, -50. So in this case, because it's subtracting a negative, that means we're going to really do -175 plus 50. And when you combine those together, you end up with -125 being the difference there. So this is the elevation here. We're still going to decrease. Okay, we're at -50, and we go down another 125 even further down. Keep dropping down in there. Okay, looking at these here, that number to that number is a decrease. Here, negative number to positive, we have an increase there, and negative and big positive is an increase there. So you should have answers that are negative, positive, and positive. I'll let you figure those out there. Okay, number 3. Looking at what's the difference between 12 and -45. We're talking about the difference here. We're talking about the space between the two numbers if you're thinking about a number line. Okay. Another thing you can think about, this is the what we call the magnitude, is what we talked about today. And the magnitude is always positive. We're talking about the space between the difference between them. It's always going to be positive. So it's like looking at a number line and saying, all right, I have -45 over here and I have 12 here. What is the value of that space in between them? So to solve that there, I do 45 and 12 and I add them up and I'm at 57. So the value between them is going to be 57. Okay? The value, what's the space between a -12 and a -45 though? Looking at that space there. Now that space is not going to be a combination of, because I don't have a positive and negative. It actually would be the difference, 45 minus 12, and you end up with 33 becomes the space between. There's 33 points between those two there. And on this one, if I'm at negative 12 here and a 45 there, that space between is, again, it's going to be a sum. 45 and 12 for 57 is what the space is there. I can think about it being two absolute values and adding them together. Okay? So that's that. This part here is exactly the same there, so I'm not sure why it's like that. Okay, and you're going to fill in some words here. Subtracting a negative number is the same as doing what? So subtracting a negative number is the same as what? So if I do 5 minus 4, it's the same as turning this into adding a negative, and that's where we are. For 6, it says the distance between two numbers is always what? Because it's the magnitude. So the distance here between two numbers is always going to be positive. That's how that's going to work out for us. Finding sum or difference. Here we go. Just some good practice here. So negative 6 minus 12. We can rewrite this as minus 6 plus a negative 12. The signs are the same. So I find the sum. 6 plus 12 is 18. And I keep the bigger sign, or keep the sign the same, which is negative 18. Over here, we're going to do 45. And instead of minus and minus, we do plus 13. And 45 plus 13 is going to be 58. And we're good right there. Alright, this one, we just did one just like that, so you're okay. This is going to be two things. We're going to look for the difference. So we have 143 minus 57. We're going to borrow, and 13 minus 7 is 6. 13 minus 5 is 8, and we'll leave it just like that. Okay, so this problem here, again, this becomes what? It becomes add a negative, so it becomes 30 plus negative 87. Which we just did one just like that, number 9. Over here we have a couple terms here, so rewrite this as add a negative, and then combine your negative numbers, and then add them up. And then do the same thing here. These are 3 negative numbers, but you can combine them all together there as well. Let's look at the back side. Okay, so on our back side here we have a picture of photograph. It says, suppose you wanted to enlarge the 5 by 8 photograph to make a poster for a bulletin board. It must fit on a bulletin board that's 32 inches wide. What's going to be, what is the width of the poster must be to be within scale? Okay, so we're going to assume that we want to find out what this value is right there. So to go from 8 to 32, I'm doing what? I'm multiplying by 4. So we want to do the same thing with the height there in order to find out what that's going to be. Let you do that. Number 14. Which graph shows a proportional relationship? And explain how you know. So two graphs there. You look at what they are, decide which one is proportional, and why, and explain that. We have one out like that earlier in our packet, so look back if you need to prior packets, prior work. Okay, circumference. Circumference is found by doing pi times the diameter. In this case here we have a circle, and it tells us the length from here to here is 11, which means the length from here to here is also going to be 11 feet. So we're going to put that for the place of our diameter, and we'll multiply it by pi, and that's what we have. Again, always check to see if they want you to plug in this number to a calculator, or do you use 3.14, or do you use 22 over 7? I don't know. You figure out what that's going to be with your teacher. And finally, number 16, a wholesale price for yoga mat is $8.50. Okay, that's our price. The markup going up is 75%. What's the retail price? So let's like I buy this for $8.50 on the store guy, but I want to make some money. I want to make 75% profit. So I'm going to increase this cost by 75%. So that's like this. It's saying I'm going to take my $8.50 and I want to multiply it by 75%. And whatever that is, it's going to be an increase there. So 850 times 75% is going to give me a value. Another way of thinking about it is this. I could also do, okay, well then I'll take that answer here, and then I'm going to add it then back to the retail price. To find retail price, I'll add it back to the cost, and that's going to give me my retail price. So I could do a couple steps. I could do this, the price times 75% markup. That's going to give me a value here. That's the markup, and add it back to the original price, and that would give me my retail price. Another thing I could do is I could take the price and just multiply it by 1.75. Now the reason I do that is because this is my original price, that's that number there, added to the 75%, which is there. When I do that, I end up with 14.8, and I actually at 875. So usually with money we round up, so this becomes $14.88 is probably what you would sell it for. Okay, so that's what a markup is. A markup is an increase this price, and we add it back to the original to get the retail price there. That's it for today. Have a great day, and we will see you next time.